Hello film and TV fans, I'm Tristan Cloutier and welcome to Secrets of Cinema, where we dig down into the magic of movies. Today we'll be discussing the editing aspects of Alfred Hitchcock's iconic 1960 thriller, Psycho. Psycho is a thriller film about a receptionist who steals money from her employer to run away. Along the way, she stays at the Bates Motel, where she meets the owner who has a controlling mother. Throughout the film, there are several aspects of editing used to drive the story forward, and we're going to explain these in greater detail. So without further ado, let's get on with the first editing aspect of the day. Let's start off with the first significant editing aspect, eyeline match. Eyeline match is a technique used to show where the character is looking and what they see. And there are scenes in this film that use just that. Let's use this scene for example. In this scene, Marion is in the car during her escape when she sees her boss on the street. At first she reacts happily at the sight, but then she gets scared when she realizes it's her boss. And her boss does the same thing. She's frightened at this sight because her boss told her to deposit the money, but she's actually stealing it, leading to foreshadowing. Now let's look at this in greater detail, shall we? In the first shot, we see Marion looking out of the windshield of her car, and then it cuts to the streets from her POV. After that, it may cut back to the character to see their reaction to what they're seeing, leading to the story driving forward. Now, let's look at the next example. The next example is a scene where she's driving in the outskirts of town and she's looking out onto the road. Then all of a sudden, she looks in her rearview mirror and sees a cop car, presumably after her for her crime. Then it cuts back to her looking on the road ahead, and the process repeats itself throughout the scene. Not only does this show some foreshadowing, but it also seems like she's deciding whether or not she should pull over for the police or keep going. And this is shown when the pacing of the shots moves faster over time. And this also gives the scene a bit of an adrenaline rush, leading to some scary things for the film later on. Now let's talk about the next important editing aspect in Psycho, match cuts. A match cut is a popular type of transition where the visuals are matched together, allowing for the beginning of the next scene. There are three types of match cuts: graphic, action, and audio. More often than not, the object in the first scene usually matches the size and shape of the object in the next scene, representing the image in a rather metaphorical way. Let's talk about a graphic match cut first. A graphic match cut uses two visual scenes linked together with similar shapes, and there are scenes that use this technique. The first scene is the iconic shower murder scene. In this legendary movie moment, Marion is taking a nice shower when all of a sudden she is brutally murdered by an unidentified culprit, presumably Norman Bates. The match cut doesn't come till the end of the scene. As the blood runs down the drain, the camera zooms into the drain, and the drain shot cut right to Marion's eye, and the camera then zooms out to show the rest of her lifeless body. This whole editing technique shows her life literally and figuratively going down the drain, and is a metaphor for when someone drops dead or even goes to hell, as hell is located below us. In addition, when the water goes down the drain, it enters a sewer system to be cleaned of the bad stuff, and this represents her being thrown away and punished for her theft of the money. The next match cut example occurs at the end of the film, when Norman is locked up in a cell. While in the cell, he hears his mother's voice telling him to do stuff, and as the camera zooms into his evil stare, if you look closely, you can barely see his face fade into his mother's mummified body before quickly fading to a car being pulled out of the swamp. This is meant to show that he's almost possessed by his mother's vengeful soul, which is the driving force that leads him to kill. Now let's get on with the next technique, reaction shots. Reaction shots, or reverse shots, are used to show a character's reaction to something. These are used in addition to eyeline matches to add more feel to the scene. These are also used in conversation scenes to make the audience feel the mood of the characters and give them the feeling of the topic, as characters have certain reactions to verbal cues. Now let's use this scene for example. In this scene, Marion meets motel owner Norman Bates, and they have a lively conversation together. In the beginning, Norman tells Marion that she eats like a bird, and her first reaction shot she kind of takes as a compliment. But when he states that it's a falsity and that birds eat a lot, she suddenly looks offended. This allows the audience to feel what she felt after what Norman said, as constant eating is usually linked to eating disorders and poor confidence. In addition, when he says this, Marion's reaction can show that he's becoming more aware of his mental issues, leading to more foreshadowing. When Norman brings up his taxidermy hobby, she reacts normally, presumably because she's taking interest in what he's talking about. Now, for the next conversation scene we'll talk about is when Marion meets a cop while on the run. When the cop taps on her window, she wakes up and appears frightened and decides to take off, but then the cop tells her to stay put, and a conversation ensues. When she wakes up in fear, she realizes that she dozed off, but this could also mean that she's worried that she's in trouble. When a cop tells her to halt, she reacts normally, but at the same time, she's still slightly nervous. This is meant to show the kind of reaction anyone would have when they're confronted by the police, as she has committed theft earlier, and the audience could assume the police are watching her. Well, everyone, that's it for today. These are all the editing aspects of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. All these techniques are beneficial in telling great stories, and the story wouldn't be a story without them. From eyeline matches to match cuts and reaction shots, all these shots really help out with driving it all forward. We hope you enjoyed this educational video, and we highly recommend using these techniques if you aspire to be a film editor. Once again, I am Tristan Cloutier, and this is Editing Aspects of Psycho. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all soon.